right, let's look at another cartoon. Take a look at page 75 at the bottom. At the bottom, you can see we've got this cartoon here. This is another cartoon that's filled with symbols. So think about what we have a picture of here. We have a picture of somebody. Looks like you might be wearing sort of a nice suit or something, with a hand of cards. And this is a good hand of cards, isn't it? Because he's got a king and 4 aces. A king and 4 aces. I'm not a card player, but 4 aces is a good hand almost any game you play. But also, look at his cuff. There are those stars again, like on the American flag. So those stars here are a symbol that this person, this entity holding this hand of cards, is the United States, is the United States government or the U.S. in general. So the cards are all labeled here. They're labeled with things that happened when FDR first came into office, when he was first elected, when the country was deep in an economic depression, the Great Depression, and FDR was elected saying, we're going to bring the country out of this depression. I have programs that we're going to put into place. We're going to save the country. All right? All right, so some of the things it says on the card, one of the things it says is inaugural address. So that's the speech that a president gives when he or she first comes into office, right? The inauguration means formally making that person the president, and she or he gives a speech at that time. And in that inaugural address, FDR laid out what he was going to do to try to help the country. And then shortly thereafter, there was what was called a bank holiday. And this was a short period of time when all the banks were shut down and quickly assessed which banks were healthy enough to go on, which ones could reopen, which ones needed to close. Because during the first thing that happened during the Depression is banks began going out of business. And some of the programs that were passed at that time are programs that still protect our money in banks today, like FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Today, when we put money in the bank, it's guaranteed to be available to us by the federal government through this insurance program. So we don't have to worry that our bank is going out of business and everybody runs to get his or her money out of the bank and the bank goes out of business, right? Also, another thing that FDR did to try to help the economy was he took the country off the gold standard. You'll learn about that in a history class. It's too complicated to go into right now. And so all of these things that FDR was going to plan to do. And the caption, you can see it on your copy, but not on mine. I mean, not the caption, but the title says, "It is a New Deal." New Deal was the name of the overall name of the programs that FDR put into place. And so this cartoonist is saying to us, this is good. This is a good deal, right? These programs that FDR is bringing up. So this cartoonist is showing that he or she thinks this is a great idea. This is a new deal, a new deal. So I'll give you the answers for the questions here. Number 4, the answer is D, the United States. And number 5, the answer is A, optimism. So the problem with number 5 is that we may not know what some of those terms mean. But to be skepticism is to be suspicious. Optimism is to be hopeful. The opposite of pessimism, which is to be negative. Okay? All right. And we've got one more cartoon to take a look at. And that's this one here. I'm going to give you the answers for the questions on page 76 first. So number 6 is B like a boy. Number 7 is D like David. Number 8 is C, like cat. Number 9 is D, like David. Number 10 is C, like cat. And number 11 is B, like boy. And I think if you take a look at those cartoons, you'll be able to see pretty well what's going on. Now, on page 77, I'm going to give you the answers for the first cartoon there. Number 12, the answer is B, like boy. Number 13, the answer is D, like David. All right? Now we're going to go to this cartoon here, which is for questions 14, 15, and 16. All right. Lots of, you can't see the title up here, but the title says, Cages Cost Money. Buy more U.S. savings bonds and stamps. So U.S. savings bonds and stamps were ways that the government raised money during World War II in order to fight the war. So let's take a look at what we've got in this picture. So we've got this big monster, some kind of horrible, kind of dumb looking monster, right? Doesn't look very smart. And it's in a cage. And it's got this big swastika on it. So we know from history that this swastika was the symbol of Adolf Hitler's Nazi party in Germany during the Second World War. So this is symbolizing the Nazis, Germany, in a cage. And who's pulling this cage? This little duck-looking like creature. But if you look really closely, this little duck creature is wearing a top hat. Remember, rich guys and politicians wear top hats. And it's got stars on it. So it's like symbolizing the United States, right? Now, the duck is carrying a rifle, and he's pulling along this cage, right, that has this Germany imprisoned in it. But then the caption says, cages cost money. If we're going to, the cartoonist is saying something about, if we're going to win this war, if we're going to capture Nazi Germany, if we're going to imprison Nazi Germany and end the war, right, then we need to buy more cages so that more little duck critters can capture more big, dumb-looking Nazi critters. All right, so lots of symbolism here. Again, at the bottom of this cartoon, you can't see it on mine, but on yours, there's a citation saying where the workbook publishers got this cartoon. All right? And then we've got some answers to questions. So which of the following does the animal in the cage represent? So it's got that big swastika on it, so it represents B, Nazi Germany, right? Nazi Germany. And even though Japan was also one of our adversaries during the Second World War, that swastika didn't have anything to do with Japan. It had to do with Germany, even though they were both our adversaries during the war. And so B is the best answer there. Number 15, according to the cartoon, which of the following will occur as a result of buying savings bonds and stamps? So if we buy savings bonds and stamps, it will allow the building of more zoos? No, this has nothing to do with zoos, right? Literally, in the picture, it looks like there's a creature in a zoo, but that's got nothing to do with what the artist, the political cartoonist, is saying to us. Make millions of dollars for people who buy bonds and stamps? Well, you know, we don't really know from our standpoint, unless we've studied this part of history, that the stamps weren't for individuals. They were for the U.S. government. They were for the country, the bonds and the stamps. So that's a little hard to figure out from our standpoint today. C, help American soldiers win the war. So we're going to do this. If we buy stamps and bonds, we're going to help win the war. We're going to help the soldiers win the war. D, help the United States and Germany become friendly towards each other. Do these creatures look like they're going to be friends? No. Nope. All right, and number 16. According to the cartoon, in which of the following roles is the United States best represented? A, as Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam, you may or may not know what that means. The zookeeper, keeping the dangerous Nazi animal from doing any harm. So the Nazi animal's in the cage, yes. The United States is not represented as a smiling duck-like creature carrying a rifle, right? That's not its role, right? The role of the United States is to get rid of the Nazis, to keep the Nazi animal from doing harm, right? As a zookeeper trying to raise money? No. As a large dinosaur-like animal being carted about in a cage? Well, the one in the cage is not the U.S., right? This one's the U.S. That one's Nazi Germany. Okay, so the only good, reasonable answer there is A. All right, so political cartoons. Remember, using labels, using symbols, expressing an opinion about something that's going on in the world. That's why I think they should be called, and I think they should be called editorial cartoons, because editorial cartoons are about politics or society or economics, lots of different subjects. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.